Okay. Okay, Mr. Johnny Pacheco, thank you very much for participating in our documentary, Latino Music Greats. I'd like to ask you to just briefly describe your musical career so far and how it started and where it is today.
Well, my career started when I was very young. The first instrument that I got was a harmonica at the age of 7. El Día de los Reyes was the Three Kings. My father gave it to me, and that's when he found out that I had talent. Then I migrated to the United States, grew up in the Bronx, and I started taking music lessons because my father was a band leader in the Dominican Republic, Santiago de los Caballeros. So I think the music is in my blood. And I started recording, playing percussion at the early age of 20, around 1955. I started playing with different orchestra, Earl Garner.
Excuse me, sorry about that. You were in the process of describing your career, and we were around the time that you were in your 20s.
I was in my 20s. I started playing percussion. I was one of the few percussionists Latino that could read music, so I used to do a lot of recordings, especially Earl Garner, Quincy Jones, Stan Kenton, and a lot of the soloists. And I went on like that until 1960 when I started Pacheco y su Charanga, which was a tremendous hit for me. And I became a flute player in those days. I started playing flute because my father used to play the flute and the clarinet, so he taught me how to play. And then we started getting Cuban bands in from Cuba, like Jose Fajardo, Quetagon, and that's how I started getting better on the flute playing.
Describe the scene of the 60s when the pachanga became, excuse me, are you
Yes.
you're hearing?
Uh-huh.
Rolling.
Okay.
From the get-go.
Vamos, from the get-go. If you could please describe to me your musical career and path it has taken.
Well, I was born into a musical family. My father was a band leader in Santiago de los Caballeros, República Dominicana. He had the best band there. And at the age of 7, he gave me a harmonica, which is the first instrument I ever played. And that's when he realized I had musical talent. Well, my roots, I believe, started at a very young age when my mother used to listen to the soap operas from Cuba. She used to put on the radio, shortwave radios. And after the program was over, they used to have Arcaño y sus Maravillas perform live in Radio Progreso. So that's when I started listening to the Cuban music, and that was my influence at the young age. And I believe that's what kicked me off into doing the charanga band that I started in 1960. But in the 50s, I was playing as a sign man with the top jazz guys like Earl Garner, Quincy Jones, Stan Kenton, and some of the soloists. And I was doing a lot of recording until in 1960 I started my own band, Pacheco y su Charanga. And that's when I started the Pachanga dance, because I associated Pacheco with Charanga, and I came up with Pachanga. And it was a very simple, happy dance, and I think that's one of the reasons it became a hit.
And in that 60s time, how did you see it become a hit? What did you feel like when suddenly there was a very large contingent of people loving this new sound, this new dance? What was it like back then?
Well, it was really crazy because doing the Pachanga was like a jump and a hop. And it got to a point that there were so many people doing it at the same time that the ceilings used to shake, especially the Palladium, the home of the mambo. The Palladium, they had to reinforce it with steel beams because the whole ceiling fell down. And everybody was going crazy with the Pachanga.
And afterward, you eventually went to start Fania Records. Tell me, how were you inspired to pursue that side of the business in recording?
Well, I was recording for Allegra Records, and I was very discontent because of the payments, the royalties. I wasn't getting what I should have gotten. And it got to a point that I was fed up and I decided to leave Alegre, and then I wanted to start my own company. And that's the reason I started Fania. I met Jerry Masucci, and between the two of us, we came up with some money, and what we did was, the first recording was Cañonazo, which, by the way, is number 325, which is very strange to start a record company with that number, but it was recorded on my birthday, March 25th. And what we did was put money, the money that we made, we put it back into the company. And it just kept rolling, and then we started signing different artists.
How important do you feel Fania Records has been to cater to that audience back then when there wasn't really any other major label dedicated to diffusing tropical music?
Well, we decided to make it like a very happy family and looking for talent that would, like, there was a lot of people wanted to record, but nobody wanted to be recorded, but nobody wanted to record them because they didn't want to take a chance. And we did that. We took a chance and started signing different groups, new groups, and before you know it, we had a nice family together.
Let's talk.
Don't start with well, because he wants
To be Anglers.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of want to give them a taste of who we are in a way.
You know,
What makes us who we are.
I saw something